Whoosh! Tip top Boston people, my name is Donato and welcome to my latest video. Factual Friday, are we calling this? Is this episode 2 of Factual Friday? Yes, in today's episode, I was going to call it marathon mistakes, but that would then switch off a lot of people who don't do marathons. It's actually race day stuff. I'm not going to talk about the marathon or the race itself, how you strategize, what you do. I'm going to talk about the stuff leading up to it and the mistakes that a lot of us have done. Yeah? So sit back, relax, and I'm going to go through the top 6 that I've done or seen a lot of people do. Yes. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be back here, and a big shout out and thank you to each and every one of you who watch these videos. Share it amongst everybody, because I'm just a little lowly content creator. I'm not like the others who've got the hundreds of thousands and big mega production teams. It's just me, camera, microphone. I'm not even holding a mic, you know, and as for the headsets and all that, yeah, forget all that. But I do have hydration. Yeah, I know. No, that's not brought to you by a sponsor or anyone. Yes, brought to you by me. So yeah, big shout out. Leave the comments again, because I love the comments on that last video where about super shoes, super foams. And I was quite surprised. I knew it affected a lot of people, but I was quite surprised how many it affected based on the numbers of views and how many of you affected. I really did appreciate the comments on there. So the overall consensus is, yep, the super foams, super shoes do cause issues, but the caveat is moderation. And also we did get 1 or 2 commenting about going, I nearly said shoeless, barefoot. Yeah, same thing, isn't it? Shoeless, barefoot, which is at the other extreme, really. Now, I do know people who do run barefoot, and it's taken them a while to transition. So that could be a whole video in itself. But yeah, going from Supermax shoes to barefoot, you're going to get injured. Yeah, just in the same way, if you go from barefoot to Supermax shoes, you're going to get injured as well. So keep it, you know, in moderation in mainstream. And the beauty with the comments and what I'm going to go through on these 6 points is I'd love to hear from you, beautiful people, in the comments, your experiences of mistakes that you've made in part of run-up preparation. Run-up, huh? Do you like the pun in there? Run-up to the event itself, whether it be a marathon or a 5K or 10K race, half marathon as well. So without further ado, let's go straight into the first one. The first one, yes, as part of your training, is where I've made these mistakes, and I've seen a lot of people, and some people keep repeating it. You know, I like to learn from other people's mistakes. Yeah, I made a mistake. I didn't have a coach in the first days, but when I was doing my long runs, I was running them at quite a high effort when it should have been at easy pace. Now, we do see a lot of people out there, in particular influencers, who do these massive workouts during their 20-mile runs, 25. I've seen some people do a marathon as a training block. I don't personally get it. I do know that a lot of top coaches have told me over the years, because what I'm showing you here is not just from my mistakes, other people's mistakes, but also what coaches have told me, and having worked with some of the top coaches in not only just Britain, but probably in the world, some of them have won marathon majors, is that it's about keeping easy and hard. So when you're going out for a long run, and I do remember one of you wonderful people left a comment and it triggered my memory. Someone else had already said it, and it seems to be commonplace, is old school recovery is if you've raced hard for, say, a 6-mile race, it's going to take 6 days to recover from that before you can start doing some more sessions on that. Yeah. So if you get a race, a 20-mile race, which I've seen some people do, and I found on my last training block, I only done one 20-mile run, and it happened to be an event. I didn't race the whole 20 miles, but there were some people finishing around the same time as me. I used it as a training and then picked up at marathon pace towards the end. I found it extremely tough because I hadn't done the mileage, and there's a whole history of what whys and wherefores of that. But what I found is that the people who were running around the same time as me, some were coming in 50 minutes behind me during the marathon. So don't fool ourselves by running a fast 20 mile that would equate to a 26.2. There's recovery and all sorts of things included in there. That's number 1 in your training. Be careful on the long runs, don't go too hard. Number 2 is leading on from this, And it's not about just the long runs, but it's races. And I've seen this so many times. And as I say, as a run up to my first marathon, I made these mistakes. I didn't have a coach or anything. Didn't really know what I was doing. I was just watching what other people were doing on social media. And they were doing races. So I was rocking up to all sorts of races and racing like the clappers. Little did I know that was fatiguing me, tiring me, and not enabling me to, on race day, I literally fell apart in my first marathon. So lesson there is not to do a hard race as part of training unless it's many, many weeks out from race day. 100%, if you're 1 week away or 2 weeks away, don't go and run a hard 10K or a half marathon. Yeah, I know there's always going to be exceptions out there, yeah, and you can let me know in the comments all these wonderful exceptions. But the thing that I've found over the years and experiences time and time again, it will come back to bite us in the butt, yeah, big time. So if you've got an A-race marathon coming up, running a half marathon 10K a week before that, not a good idea. You wouldn't have recovered in time, because remember that 1 day per mile race in recovery. Yeah, if you jog it easy, that's completely different. We can go along to events and jog along, but I often get caught in the euphoria of the race, and what started as a jog ends up being, quite a tempo effort. So unless that's on your training plan, don't do it. Number 3, again, a common mistake I see, in particular at the marathon majors, time and time again I see this, and it's all about time on feet the day before the race. And I think the same applies for half marathons, 10Ks, 5Ks. If you've got a key race and you want to really give it your best shot, yeah, if you just want to get round, you can ignore all of these comments and help and support. But if you want to get round the best that you can, get the most enjoyment, don't go sightseeing the day before. Don't go walking around the expo for miles and miles, looking at all the products and everything, and doing thousands and thousands of steps on feet, exhausting yourself. And you might think, oh, I'm just sightseeing, I'm not running, I'm not doing any of that. It really does fatigue us, and it doesn't help. I do recall some guys who were staying at the same hotel as me at one of the marathon majors, and they went on a hop-on, hop-off bus tour the day before the big race, and they normally finish in about 4.5 hours, but they'd finished in 5.5 hours during that event, and they really struggled. Yeah, so from my experience, don't go sightseeing the day before. Do it the day after. If you've watched my Berlin Marathon, I was doing a hop-on, hop-off bus on the Monday after marathon day. So sightseeing after, not before. Number 4, we've heard this time and time again, don't try anything new. The same applies for training in the build-up and also the days or the week before. For certain foods that don't work for you, the day before a marathon, the night before, the dinner, don't try any new meal. You might look wonderful and exotic and you're at a wonderful restaurant having a great time, in whether it be Berlin, Chicago, London, New York. Stick to what works for you, because the old tum-tum, it could react the following day. Yeah, I know it make good for Instagram and whatever, and how things fell apart and you don't really know what happened. Well, it was probably the prawns that you had the night before. There you go. So don't try anything new. It's not just about race day and kit, it's about the eating and the drinking the day before. Number 5, I can't stress this enough, and it is about stress, anxiety, sleep in particular. Yeah, don't stress or worry about a bad night's sleep the night before a race. Yeah, so if your race is on the Sunday and the Saturday night you don't get a good night's sleep, don't stress about it. Don't worry. I know it may not sound easy to do, but it's what's been happening the days and weeks before in terms of your rest and recovery that will help you have a good race day. I've had many a bad night's sleep the night before, and I still come out and perform and put in an epic race and often PB. So don't stress, don't worry about what happens the night before. Keep cool and yeah, stress free. Last but not least, number 6. Yes, carb loading. I know. Carb loading. What kind of carb loading? There's all sorts. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to recommend how many grams and this and that or whatever. Do what works for you. You can Google it. There's all sorts of stuff out there. But what I found that works for me, from the Wednesday, you can start on the Monday, but whether you do a whole week's carb loading, but at the latest on the Wednesday, 2 carbohydrate meals. Yeah, breakfast can be your usual stuff, proteins, yogurts, berries and all that kind of stuff. But lunch and dinner will be carbohydrate meals for me, and the carbs that I tend to stick with, and something that I've read, is just basic rice, potatoes, pasta, pizza. Yeah, not in any particular order, but those are the main carbs. Bread as well. But the key thing with all these carbs, and again, it's not going to be healthy. You don't do this every day, week in, week. It's just for the carb loading. I did read somewhere, again, depending on what GI issues you may get or not get, gastric issues, is white bread, white rice, white pasta. I know it's not the best for our tum-tums, but it's to settle it and maybe stiffen it all up, so to speak. So yes, to avoid those issues on race day. And believe me, you don't want to have issues on race day. I've not had absolute issues where I've been caught short, but I have experienced, and it was during one London marathon, where I thought I was running past a sewage place, but no, it was a runner passing me who, yeah, no more explanation needed really. But anyway, so carb loaded and keep it to, the what you might call unhealthy rather than the whole wheat, brown and all that stuff. So white bread, white rice, white pasta. Makes sense? So that's it really. 6 key points. Fun Friday. Oh, does it work? I think it works. And again, there's always exceptions, and I've seen time and time again where people will throw back and say, well, that's wrong, so-and-so does this and so does that. Yeah, it works for so-and-so and it works for so-and-so, but I can almost assure you that what may work for one person may not work for other. And the 6 points I've shared with you, these are just things that I've made these mistakes myself, some of them, all of them, but I see people time and time again, and what I find quite incredulous is a lot of these mistakes are done by people who've been running for many, many years, and some of them are qualified coaches, which makes you wonder, what are they doing? Yeah, we see the posts, drop the ego. So drop the ego, drop the Strava, and just get out there and have fun and enjoy the running, because after all, it's all about the joy of running. And speaking of joy, next video coming out soon will be the race day vlog of the Redditch Kingfisher 10K, where I went out and had an absolute bombastic time, putting out a 10K time, which surprised me, recovering from Berlin. But also it's fantastic to see, you might have seen some other YouTubers around, so you've got Obi-Wan Brand, Brett, and also Andy Maguire. It's on Andy. You'll see that he ran an absolute epic PB, and I caught him on camera at that very moment. So watch out for that video as well. And I look forward to seeing you at episode 3 of Factual Friday, where we'll show you what fun. Maybe leave in the comments what kind of facts you want to hear about here on the YouTubes, because we just say how we see it. Yeah, can you say what you see? I'm sure there's a game show about that, isn't there? Anyway, enough of me wittering on. See you all very soon. Love you all. Bye bye bye. Bye bye bye. Back to the hydration. Yeah, you guessed correctly. So from the first time I drunk, I'd recorded that whole blah, 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 without taking a drink. Or maybe did I draw a breath? See you soon.